Good morning. I'm Brent Adams here with your Rural Strong Morning Ag Report for this Tuesday, November 28th, the 332nd day of 2023. Leading off the headlines this morning, late last week, a U.S. Mexico-Canada agreement dispute panel allowed Canada to continue restricting dairy access that the U.S. negotiated for under the agreement. The action came after an earlier panel ruled in January 2022 that Canada had improperly restricted access to its market for American dairy products. American agriculture leaders and groups reacted negatively to the decision. It's profoundly disappointing that the dispute settlement panel chose obstruction rather than facilitation in trade, says Jim Mulhern, president and CEO of the National Milk Producers Federation. We urge the USDA and the USTR to look at all available options to ensure that Canada stops playing games with trade agreements. Krista Harden, president and CEO of the U.S. Dairy Export Council, says this isn't the only shortcoming in Canada's international commitments. She says they're committed to working with USTR and USDA to address Canada's harmful actions that help evade USMCA dairy export disciplines. Well, U.S. Trade Representative Katherine Tai said 2 of the 3 USMCA dispute panel members found that Canada's dairy import policies don't breach its commitments under the USMCA. She said she's very disappointed by the findings in the USMCA panel report on Canada's dairy tariff rate quota allocation measures. While the United States won a previous USMCA dispute on Canada's dairy TRQ allocations, Canada's revised policies still haven't fixed the problem for U.S. dairy farmers, she said. In the dispute panel's report, it found that Canada's measures are not inconsistent with the USMCA provisions cited by the U.S. The panel split on the U.S. claims that Canada's exclusion of retailers, food service operators, and others from eligibility and its historical market share approach to allocating dairy TRQs breach its obligations. House Ag Committee Ranking Member David Scott, a Democrat from Georgia, says it's critical that we enforce USMCA as this decision allows Canada to continue with its protectionist practices. Well, Canada's win in the second U.S. challenge to Ottawa's dairy import practices under the USMCA is yet another blow to U.S. confidence in the deal. The U.S. dairy industry says the latest ruling by a USMCA dispute panel allows Canada to continue to restrict U.S. dairy access to its market and weakens the agreement's value to the U.S. industry. The U.S. brought a second case after Canada made what were considered insufficient changes under an earlier ruling to its tariff rate quotas or low tariffs for a predetermined quota of imports. Industry trade executive Shauna Morris complained before the 2 rulings that Canada was unfairly granting the TRQs.
Granting the vast majority of them to other Canadian processors that frankly don't have a very strong incentive to be importing from the U.S. and particularly not higher value products.
Raising the question of USMCA's value when dairy was a key reason and sticking point in the negotiations for the trade deal.
We will not be able to make full use of the market access terms that the U.S. fought so hard to secure from Canada under USMCA, that we won't be able to ship as much product as we hope to, and or that we'll be able to only ship lower value products.
In other news this morning, the White House Monday held the inaugural meeting of its Council on Supply Chain Resilience with participants including U.S. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack. More from USDA Radio's Rod Bain.
We're coming together to ask a simple question. What's next? What can we do? What must we do to keep making progress, to keep our supply chain stable and secure in the long term?
Among the solutions offered by President Joe Biden Monday,
the launch of a new Council on Supply Chain Resilience. I'm charging this group to ensure that our supply chains remain secure, diversified, resilient.
With the inaugural meeting of this council conducted Monday as well.
I'm also directing my cabinet to create an early warning system that uses data to spot supply chain's risks to our economic security, our national security, our energy security, and our climate security.
Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack attended the meeting as a member of the White House Council on Supply Chain Resilience. USDA investments in supply chain resiliency in the past 3 years include almost $200 million in 185 projects nationwide. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Well, yesterday we told you about the final USDA crop progress report of the year, and today we find out that an average corn growing season is producing above average results. Here with the details is USDA Radio's Gary Crawford.
As the corn harvest winds down, how would you characterize this growing season for corn? maybe a little less exciting than some other recent years in the past.
Which many farmers probably appreciate that. That's USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey, who says this has been what he calls a
pretty average year in terms of impacts from flooding or drought. We didn't see too much of either, at least in the heartland.
Yes, some areas did have some weather challenges, not as damaging, though, as in years past. And the harvest season, that's been a good one, too.
We had pretty open weather, so harvests and crop maturation was pretty much on schedule to ahead of schedule.
The numbers bear that out.
The national harvest progress as of November 26th coming in at 96% harvested,
matching almost exactly the 5-year average corn harvest pace for this week. The crop, anything but average. USDA says it will be the biggest corn harvest on record, over 15 billion bushels. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
And finally this morning, the United Soybean Board announced a call for nominations for the Tom Oswald Legacy Award. In its second year, the award honors my friend, the late Cleghorn, Iowa farmer Tom Oswald, who will always be remembered as a passionate farmer leader and dedicated volunteer. The award recognizes someone who went above and beyond to move research and promotion investments forward in a conventional way. The inaugural award in 2023 was given to soy checkoff architect Ken Bader. If you know an organization, group, or individual that should be recognized for their efforts and passion for the industry, visit the United Soybean Board website to submit a nomination. Nominations close on January 8th, 2024. Well, you can keep up with everything going on in the world of agriculture by subscribing to the Tractors and Troubadours podcast from Rural Strong Media. Each week, I bring you agriculture industry newsmakers, hot-button industry issues, educational features, and the best in traditional country music. The Tractors and Troubadours podcast can be found at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. We also invite you to join us daily on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com or the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. Each day, we bring you our award-winning agriculture programming, as well as the best in traditional country music, mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music, and now featuring your country Christmas favorites. Again, the place to find Rural Strong Radio is ruralstrongmedia.com or the Live 365 streaming radio app. We're portable, so take us with you everywhere you go while you're working on the farm or ranch. We'll get you through those long, challenging days. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another Rural Strong Morning Ag Report here on Steve Shetler Media. Make it a great day, everybody.